conversation with Ben
Great.
and Ron. It was good, wasn't it, Jackie?
He did an excellent job, really excellent.
Yeah, very good. So open up your free Spartan FX currency exchange account, and you can find out how to do that at expatsportugal.com in the business directory. So still letting a few people in. I'm just a bit preoccupied because I'm trying to start up the YouTube as well. I think that's happening over there. I'll come back to that after we get underway. Let's go to Queen of the Visas first this evening. Gilda, good evening to you. I heard on the grapevine that SEF had made an announcement about their upcoming plans. What say you on that?
About SEF?
Fresh, that news. Yeah, didn't they make an announcement on their website, or do we not even bother to look there anymore? We just actions speak louder than words.
I haven't seen anything.
Right. Okay. Well, what I heard was a lot of the conversation was about family reunification. That was most of the messages that were being sent. So that might be one of the biggest cues for SEF. Anything from your angle, from your view on what's going on with SEF?
So what did they say? That they are going to open slots?
I think it was mainly a PR thing about what's going to be happening when they. I mean, we've had enough, possibly, haven't we, of the PR and the announcements, and we're waiting for some. Daniel's nodding. We're waiting for some tangible action and some real stuff. So maybe it was just a bit of a PR puff and nothing to report. From your point of view, though, nice and busy, Gilda?
I'll wait and see. At this point, I'm very worried about the corruption that is happening.
Right. Okay.
Around SEF and around VFS and around the consulates.
Oh, okay.
I've been very worried about this because, like, every day I
from
hear
your point of view,
news about that.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just muting myself up there. I have found myself on the internet now. I wasn't doing a vain self-search. I was just making sure the dream team was streaming to YouTube. Sorry for that interruption, Gilda. But I mean, that's a little worrying. You're worried about the corruption and what's going on around the world, are you, in these various offices? Could you say more and explain that to us, what you mean?
Well, what I see is that, we are trying to make since the beginning and always, we are trying to make an honest work, and it's hard. This job is hard, and it's becoming harder because there are no vacancies on SEF, and then we figure out that the slots that are available are being sold. And then there are no vacancies on the VFS. And then we find out on some clients send us print screens on Facebook groups that these vacancies are being sold. And it's a lot of corruption, and it's very frustrating because we are here to do our work. And then we find out that even for visas to be approved, sometimes people are asked money, and this is not good.
Okay, so what we're hoping for then is for the new person running SEF to make a very strong message that this is not acceptable, and maybe hit the ground running and run the organization in a way that really sends a clear message to all the consulates and the VFSs around the world that this sort of thing won't be tolerated.
Yes, so let's wait and see and hope that this new agency is going to change things.
Yeah.
Maybe what I see, it's because it's becoming so bad these last months. It's that maybe people are so desperate that it's going to be the last times, so that they are being so greedy about this.
Okay.
Because it's going to things are going to change, and hopefully with this new entity, it's going to slow down. I don't know.
Fingers crossed for that. We won't have to hopefully we won't have to wait too much longer now for that news, and to see how the new leader and the new organization will perform. So we hear you there, Gilda, and your concerns, and we'll keep a close eye on that. We'll see it unfold, of course, every week here on the Dream Team session. Daniel, you've probably got thanks for the time being, Gilda. Daniel, you probably have a view on this as well.
Well, I think that Childa is on the spot. Having a private entity like VFS holding and wielding so much power as in receiving visas applications, I think it's a really bad idea. Especially because the data that is basically conveyed and disclosed to VFS, no one guarantees that it is indeed protected, so they can disclose that data to third parties. This may occur. And as Jilla was stating, although I don't deal usually with consulates, there's a lot of rumors that the vacancies are being sold. And the main problem with this is I don't know if this will change with the new agency, and this is because of the following reasons. SEF is run by a ministry, and the embassies and the consulates are run by one other ministry. So it's separate competences. So although things may change on SEF's end or in this new entity's end, I don't know if this will affect the behavior of consulates. I sure hope so, but it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed at all.
Well, and they're quite used to a certain way of working, weren't they? So that like a culture change will be quite a difficult thing to bring about.
Correct. It's basically out of sight, out of mind. And if you are 2,000 or 5,000 kilometers away from Portugal, well, you do whatever you want. That's basically it.
Yeah.
So it's quite indeed frustrating that these situations happening. It makes me sad to hear about these rumors on corruption. And I thought that we were well past this because Portugal had problems with corruption in 80s and 90s on low-level corruption on employees, but then things improved significantly. And in my professional years, I've never had a public employee trying to obtain a bribe or something like that. Fortunately, never seen with my own two eyes a situation like that, and that is good. But the situation with the consulates being abroad and the lack of oversight and control, it's worrisome. So my advice on this is that the consulates should stop using VFS altogether and should have hire people to do what VFS is doing, because it should be internal work and not external work. This is my take on the situation.
That's radical and understandable as well.
It is not. It is not. It was how things were 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
When I worked with EI and with Childa, this is the majority of the consulates didn't have or didn't work with VFS. So VFS is indeed quite recent.
Okay, all right, good to know that. Thank you very much for that. Well, fingers crossed. And I think the best we can say is despite that situation, you are dealing with the top professionals on this side of the law and within those migration systems. Gilda, of course, from EI and Daniel Dos Reis from Raison Pelicano. And of course, Carolina is here tonight as well from A. How are you, Carolina? How's your day been in the office?
Hello, everyone. My day has been quite busy, which is good. Many visits, many clients, and we're having, how can I say this? We're having many people coming and looking for houses, which is great. So quite busy.
Good for you. Excellent stuff. So when you say looking for houses, you're helping, of course, people find houses to buy and to rent. So if you need to know anything about that, this evening, do let us know. We'll put those questions to Carolina. Exciting areas to look at, and maybe some of the traditional favorites, Lisbon and Porto, but maybe other places as well that Carolina can comment on if there are new names on your map, like Sintra, where Barack is saying Allah from. We're used to seeing Barack in Texas, but in Sintra tonight. Derek is with Linda in Lagos this evening. Stephanie, thank you, in the UK. JLM joining us from the last webinar in this one from Florida. And Christina is here. Christina and Camilla are here from Winsurance. How are you this evening, Camilla?
Hello, good evening. Everything okay? And not this news like Gilda has.
Oh,
Insurance world, is everything calm? Yeah.
We are looking for stability, as we say, that we're looking at the insurance industry. However, the opposite of stability, earthquake cover. I think you wanted to say a little bit about this tonight, because it is, people from California, for example, are used to it. People from the UK are quite terrified by the idea of having your house covered for earthquake eventualities. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we have here in Portugal a lot of earthquakes every day, and we have a website where we can see how it happens and where and how serious it was. And it's important to be to know that when you have your property insurance, to be sure that you have your seismic phenomenon coverage, because, for example, if you have a fire because of the earthquake, and you don't have this coverage, will not be covered, you know.
Yeah, right.
So it's important to have it, to be sure that in case of, you are covered. So we had 3 weeks ago in Morocco, a serious
right.
one.
Of course,
Yeah, and 2 weeks ago in Alentejo, a
Okay.
3.7.
Right.
So yeah, we have this.
So
I don't know if someone felt this through
I
2
had
weeks.
friends actually. I had friends in Caldas de Reña who were woken in the middle of the night with some of the aftershocks that I think came up from Morocco. So people did feel it in Portugal. And what I want to ask you about this is, you know, you say it's important to be covered, and you know, our minds obviously go to these worst case scenarios that we see on the news or we hear about from history. But presumably, some of the smaller seismic shocks can cause damage to properties, and that's what needs to be covered. Is it, you know, as much as anything else?
Sorry, if it's small,
Oh, some of the smaller shocks, I guess, might cause damage to property. Is that right? Does that occur?
No, I don't think it can make some damage to the properties.
All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
but as you, sorry.
quite unusual and unlikely in Portugal.
Yeah, we don't know when can it happen. So the best way is to be safe
To be covered,
and
yeah,
cover.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, quite sobering, that idea, but very important to be covered here in Portugal with its history and reality of earthquakes. And somebody was telling me it's actually good that we feel tremors. That's when it's safest, in a way, that the earth is constantly moving, and it's good to have some activity. It's when it goes very quiet that you need to be worried. It's something that somebody was telling me. So thank you for being here tonight, Camilla. Any questions at all about insurance, do pop them into the chat. And we'll get to those here on Zoom. And of course, we'll go to YouTube. We were completely overwhelmed last week. So do get your questions in early if you can. And you stand a much better chance of getting your questions answered if you can ask them now, early on in the session. We've also got Roman here as well, I think. Roman, are you here this evening?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me actually?
Good evening to you. Great to meet you. I do need a pronunciation note. Am I saying that
Yeah.
right? Roman or Romain, are we saying?
Put an emphasis on the Roman. But actually it's a
Roman.
French name, so the real one is Romain, but it's quite complicated to
That's
do.
what I was going for, the Romain. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
do it like this. That's perfect.
Right. Muito prazer, enchanté. Great to see you. And you are here, of course, from a mortgage company. It's the first time for you here, so could you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so actually, nice to meet you. It's actually our first time here. So we're Cafimo, and we're mortgage brokers based in Lisbon. For now, we only have one agency. We're in Lisbon itself, but we're specialized into non-resident mortgage application. Well, actually, non-Portuguese mortgage application, because that's a whole other job than to present, like a Portuguese buying here in Portugal, because when all the tax papers and everything are not in Portuguese, it's actually quite, complicated to explain everything and as clearly as possible to the banker. And because usually these processes are the most complicated to present, but at the same time where we have the most spaces to play with, like the non-employee type of investors can be quite easily explained as long as all the documentation is well transparent and everything. So this is why we're specialized into it. And like, it's been 5 years now. And it's why we decided, like, most of our brokers are specialized for non-resident, but of course, some of our brokers are also working for Portuguese investors.
Okay, brilliant. And the name of your company once more. We've got your slide behind you.
Yeah, but it's quite small, right? So
it is. And we've got a mirror image, which actually can be quite stressful to turn around the right way, we've found with Zoom calls. But
okay, well, I'll try to
there might be people getting mirrors so they can look at and read the slide around the right way.
Because on the preview it was mirror, so that's why I changed. But now for the next time I'll put the original one.
Good man, thank you very much. Yeah, because at the moment I've got Nick Orbe egg ag Tom Rom, which is mortgage broking backwards.
Yeah, but the most important is what I'll say, not what.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
So
well said, Roman. Very good to meet you.
thank you. Very
And
good to
any
meet you.
questions at all about financing your home purchase here in Portugal, you can ask Roman these questions. Have you got an overview of what's going on in the market at the moment? I mean, we had another rate rise, didn't we? It's looking a bit miserable in many ways, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we're in a quite weird situation where the fixed rate is cheaper than the variable rate. Usually it's the opposite, right? You go on a variable rate because you take the risk of it increasing or decreasing, but it's a bit cheaper when you sign the deed. Right now, fixed rate are a bit cheaper. So let's say the average for the most optimistic fixed rate we can have is around 4%, right? Where the average for variable rate is more around 4.9 to 5%. So being from France, we are big into fixed rates, but Portuguese people are big into variable rates. So this is why it's quite interesting to talk about it, right? Because people think it'll decrease starting from next year, but unfortunately I cannot predict future, right? So we do not really know, and most of our clients now opt for either full fixed rate or mixed rate. That could be, you know, the good compromise to go for a fixed rate for a few years and then move on to the variable rate when hopefully rates will have decreased. But right now we don't even know. But especially when you look at the graph, we think that we're at the top. And it's not even a job to
no,
predict it.
fair enough. It's very hard to call, and I wouldn't dream of putting you on the spot like that. Why are Portuguese people so keen on variable rates, do you think, historically?
So, I mean, variable rate has always been cheaper. You know, when you sign the deed, it's always a bit cheaper because it's riskier. So, to be honest, I don't really know. I think it's more of a mentality. And us being French we are very pessimistic. And we like to know what will be the worst case scenario. You see, maybe Portuguese people are too optimistic. I don't know, but this is what I can see now. That the Portuguese, I think I seen like an article last time. It was around 90% or 87% of the mortgages were on a variable rate, which is
terrifying. It's a terrifying figure,
especially right now.
Yes, absolutely.
People are coming into our office to just fix their rates. Because they don't no more. There's no cap. They can go up to like +4 plus. That's amazing. And this is why people tend to go on a fixed rate. Well, maybe like renegotiating later, or I don't know, but they want to be able to know what would be the worst case scenario for the next 30 years or something.
Amazing. Yeah. And I've heard of people's mortgages going from what, 500 euros to 3 times that.
Yeah.
Some instances.
When you signed like a year ago or something, your variable rate was like maybe 1%.
Yes.
Now it would be 5%.
Yep. Terrifying stuff. Can you help our Portuguese friends renegotiate and get a better deal?
Yeah, definitely. That's part of our job. Well, most of my clients are not Portuguese, but this is why I told you that we also have like a part of our company dealing with only Portuguese people, because obviously I do speak Portuguese, but I won't have the same approach as a real Portuguese will have with a Portuguese client, you see? So this is why we tend to cover everything. But for me, I'm specialized into non-Portuguese.
Very good. Thank you. Really good to meet you, and lovely to hear that you can offer that full service for us. Tom Smith, good evening to you. Yes, it does help to log into the current week's webinar. I think who's working with an old link there. There may be others lost in hyperspace, cyberspace at the moment. Looking forward to welcoming you on this call. We have questions about earthquakes tonight, Camilla. Does the seismic insurance cover both major and minor? I suppose that's what I was getting at, but it's any kind of shock, isn't it, that would come or damage from an earthquake?
So after 72 hours after the first loss, any other damage regarding this will be covered. So because when we have an earthquake, we have some, I don't know how to say in English.
Well, aftershocks.
Yes, aftershocks, yeah. And this is covered 72 hours later. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's got to be damaged within 72 hours of the first shock.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Interesting to know. Thank you very much for that. I think there are other questions about earthquakes. We may well come back to that. So thank you very much for the time being, Ed. But of course, Camilla, Christina can answer questions on any kind of insurance here, including the insurance that you need to come over as part of the D7 conditions. Going back to you, Gilda, Barack is asking, are there specific embassies that are worse than others? I don't know if we should name and shame, or should we? I mean, we can maybe give people a heads up on some of the places that are particularly difficult to work with, rather than making any. I mean, you know better than to make accusations, Gilda, from a legal point of view. But
no, I don't want to go.
Okay, not at all. We're not going to take that question.
Mm.
The erring on the side of caution, I understand that. Barack, I did try. Okay, going to you then, Carolina. Tomar. Now, we don't talk about Tomar very much. It's a bit like Bruno, isn't it? And Jerry lives there, of course. If you have a one-to-one with Jerry, you'll get to find out a lot about Tomar. But what's your view on that? Chiara is asking about Tomar. That's where I'm looking now. What would you have to say about the place itself and the possibility of buying and renting in Tomar, Carolina?
Tomar is lovely. It is very beautiful. It's different. It's a different vibe than Lisbon. So you have services and transports and everything, but it's way quieter than the city. In terms of prices, we can't say they're different from Lisbon, but they're still high.
Yeah.
Basically is that, but it's a lovely region to explore if you want to be outside of the crowded and movement of Lisbon. It's a great option, and it has like I can say medieval style.
Yes,
I don't know if you would agree, but it's a lovely region to see.
Yeah, Templar history, and of course the Festa de Tabuleiros every 4 years, I believe, where you see the most amazing spectacle there of the ladies doing the hard work, as usual, carrying a massive hat or tray of bread and flowers, barely being helped by their gentleman partners. But it's great. I'm looking forward to spending a weekend there next month myself in Tomar. While we're on the subject then of alternatives to the the higher prices, as I think you were alluding to there in the capital and in Porto, where else might people look alongside or in that same sort of spirit of in Tomar as alternative places to look, Carolina?
So another places to look, I would advise like the region of Leiria, Foz do Aralho, Figueira da Foz. There's some good regions. More in the interior, we had a client that was looking in Almeirim, Santarém.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
It's very beautiful as well.
Yeah.
Exploring the interior of the country is always a good option for people who like to be in a town where they don't get much busy, but they have services as well. It depends on the area, of course, but it's good to explore the interior cities because the interior of Portugal needs people there, so those areas can grow.
Well said. Well said. Okay. Any more questions on renting and buying in Portugal? Let's go to Carolina for those, and Romain, if you want financing for those as well. Tom Smith, counting down the days. Any milestones you've got to celebrate, do let us know. And these countdowns are good too. 193 days, 3 hours, 30 minutes until I go on my first scouting trip to Portugal. But who's counting? You are, definitely, Tom. And Tom refers back to those or to the information that I was sharing with you, Gilda, about the SEF site. And the changes we've known about for some time at SEF, of the 15 responses you saw, I don't know if this was like, direct way of messaging SEF or if it was just social media and people putting this in social media chat. But of the 15 responses that Tom saw, 9 were asking about family reunification. Gilda, I don't know if you want to respond to that, but you are mentioning Leiria as a good place to go to as well. Gilda, why do you mention that specifically?
Because this is like we are getting trends.
Yes. Okay.
From times to times. So like we got the trend of Braga, then we got the trend of Silver Coast, then we got the trend of Lagos, and now these past 3 months it's like the trend of Leiria.
Okay, all right. Very fine castle it has there, and a historic place, not unlike Tamar, not quite as medieval and Templar, but there you go. There is a place to look as well. Go on, Carolina.
Sorry, in Leiria, there's also a good town that is Óbidos. That's
yeah.
medieval as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. And you also have Alcobaça. Leiria region has multiple options to explore. It is a trend, as Gilda mentioned, but it has many options to explore as well.
Ah, okay. So perhaps you can help people with something here. When Gilda said Leiria, I'm thinking of the city. Quite often it's the case, isn't it, that the city will give its name to the region as well.
Yes.
Can you break down for us how this varies in Portugal? The smallest unit, the parish, is the freguesia. That's right, isn't it?
Exactly. You have the freguesia, you have the concelho, that it's the county, like in Lisbon. The county is Lisbon. And then you have outside of the Lisbon, that it's the district, where you have Sintra, Amadora, Oeiras. So it's a larger area. In Leiria, it's a district, and you also have Leiria as a town, and then you have several others like Óbidos, Nazaré, Peniche, Pombal, Alcobaça. So within the district, you have several options.
Yes, there you go. Okay, worth bearing in mind. And Gilda, I think you got more to say. Almada, you can see Lisbon, and you have the beach nearby. I spent a fantastic weekend last weekend in Aroeira and on the south side of the river. I went to Sejal, which I think you know. That's coming on very nicely as well, isn't it? Would you recommend that as a place to look, Gilda?
Yes, actually, I like a lot Seychelles. Did you like it?
I did. The waterfront is very beautiful there.
You see?
And it just feels like it's on the edge of something. Like since I've been in Portugal, some 6 years now, I've thought to myself, why is it that the Lisboetas don't value south of the river so much? And I think that's probably a historical thing. But would you agree with me?
I think it's an historical thing.
Well, snobbery about. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. But that's going to change, isn't it? That's going to change now. And I think quite drastically with the development that's going on, and how, Comporta, Alcochete, these other really trendy little places are in the south, Aroeira as well, Costa de Caparica. This is all going to change soon, I think. And that snobbery will just be some historical thing that maybe our grandparents talked about one day.
I don't know. I'm already here, so.
All right, you're happy.
I'm already following the trends.
You set the trend, maybe. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for all of that. Really helpful stuff to people who are watching from other parts of the world and not knowing at all where all of these towns are. So very happy to help you with that. Keep smiling, Queen Gilda, says El Karam. Without you and Carolina, I may never have been prepared for my VFS appointment. So yeah, I think people understanding and hearing your frustration, Gilda, but very grateful to you nonetheless. Tom's saying, I'm looking at suburban Lisbon, such as Eastern Sintra, Rio de Muro, or Almada. Happy to go south of the river there. And Amadora might be worth it if you can get a good neighborhood, says Tom as well. We might come back to Carolina on that. Sean has fallen in love with Eastern Algarve, Villarreal de Sant Antonio or Tavira. That's understandable as well. Purging mode. What? Sold my truck last week. Oh, okay. This is Connie getting rid of all her stuff, ready to move over here. Meeting with Realtor tomorrow to help determine when best to sell my home. All with the objective of moving to Portugal early, mid-24. Thank you very much. Question then from Chiara. Is access to resources, schools, medical, public transport in the centre of Portugal? Or is there access, I suppose? Let's go back to you then, Carolina. You are suggesting that people might want to look at the interior. What's public transport, schooling, and medical like there? What sort of trade-off might people have to make?
So it depends on the city they choose, okay? Because there are the suburbs, and in the suburbs of the cities of the interior, it's very difficult to get access to resources, as Kaida explained, like schools, medical institutions. For example, in Santarém, to give you an example, the district, within the district, you have like Cartacho. Cartacho, the nearest hospital is in Santarém, which is very far away, far away. It's like 40 minutes away which is a long time if you need an emergency. So it depends on the city. And once we start the house hunting service, we have all that in mind, and we let the clients know if they're in a region where access to services is rough, and transport as well. In Lisbon, in Porto, transports are very are better than the interior of Portugal. That's true. In some area, it depends really on the city, basically.
Portugal, where they make wine, was that?
Yes,
Okay.
Cartaz, exactly.
So it has its upsides for sure, but don't fall over when you've been drinking their wine, because it's going to take 45 minutes for an ambulance to get to you. Okay, thank you very much. Just a quick housekeeping thing. Thank you for that, Carolina. I think you're going to be talking a lot tonight, because other names are coming up for places around. And other members of the panel might have a view on this as well, so feel free to chip in, Dream Team panelists. Yeah, there was a bit of trouble getting in on Zoom. ZE is asking, where is the link to Zoom for members? I can't put it in the YouTube chat for obvious reasons, but if you send a mail to admin@expatsportugal.com, I suspect somebody will be able to help you in. And Brendan is saying good evening from Sejal tonight. VFS is supposed to just collect the documents for the consulate. Yes, that's all they're meant to do, but it does get a bit more complicated than that. Jalal, the embassy in the UAE called us to tell us that they have approved our D7 application, and SEF, but SEF didn't approve it. They also said that our case is so strong and have no reason to provide. And then it goes, I'm not sure what your question is there. Could you make any sense of that, Gilda? Embassy in UAE called us to tell us that they have approved our D7 application and that SEF didn't approve it. So what happens in that sort of situation? We might need a bit more information.
So it means that their first analysis, on the first analysis, the embassy said yes, but then it goes to SEF, and SEF has the final decision, and the final decision was no.
Okay.
But usually the embassy doesn't provide that information because it's confidential.
Yeah.
So
approval just sounds not quite the right word there. Okay. Maybe, yeah. Okay. So Jalal, we either need more information or give Gilda.
But if you want to email us the letter that you got from the embassy, so we can see why they didn't approve. We can see if it makes any sense or not, and if it doesn't make sense, we can make an appeal.
Very good. Okay,
we make many appeals from that embassy because they deny many things without any sense.
Oh, okay. So you good working knowledge of UAE, and they can help you at Jalal, if you want to get in touch in the morning, find EIA in the Expats Portugal Business Directory. Thank you for that question. Come back to you in a moment, Joseph. We've got some interesting points from Chiara here. And continuing from your earlier question, are the appointments based on your living location in Portugal? Or are there certain locations you have to report to? So it doesn't necessarily follow, does it, Gilda, that because you live in Lisbon, you're going to have your SEF appointments there?
Well, some of them they respect. Like if you show accommodation in Madeira and Azores, they usually respect it.
Yep.
But most of them, they don't. And I'm going to give you an example. We had a family of 3 that the visas were approved. A mother, 5 years old girl, and a 2 years old boy. And they have a house in Porto, and their appointments were in Lisbon. All of them were at the same hour, but 3 different SEFs.
Yikes. Okay, that's you couldn't get more inconvenient than that, really, could you?
Yeah, reminding that we are talking about a 5 years old, a 2 years old, and a mother.
Right, that's appalling. Okay, so it can work.
So it doesn't make any sense.
No, and we hear, don't we, sometimes of a husband and wife maybe who one is in the north in Braga on the same morning as the wife is in the Algarve. It can go any way, I think, is basically the answer to your question there, Chiara.
Yes.
We'll come back to those destinations that you're looking at after we've heard from Brian. Brian, are you happy to ask this out loud and live on YouTube and Zoom?
Yes, I am. Yes. It's a banking question. I've just had my bank account paperwork through from Millennium, and there's an absolute world of paperwork with loads of signatures, about 200 pages of Portuguese, and I don't understand half of it.
Half of it?
Well, okay, I don't understand any of it.
Okay.
But I have translated some, particularly about the Prestige bank account. And they were, do I need a Prestige bank account? I don't think I even qualify for Prestige bank account with my financial status, because it looks like I need to continually have about 50,000 in my bank account, or 2,500 per month coming in passive.
Right.
Well, I don't achieve any of those. Why are they trying to give me a Prestige bank account? All I want is a basic bank account to get my D7 visa. And I have actually sent an email off to you today about that as well, Gilda.
Great.
Yeah, I saw your email.
And you don't have to have a Prestige bank account to get a visa, do you?
I hope not.
No, you don't.
But the thing is, who is going to open you a bank account?
Who's going to do it, Brian?
It's AI and Millennium.
Right. Okay, so I think you're home and dry, basically.
Okay, so we have to talk about that afterwards.
Okay.
Oh, what? Not now?
No.
Okay, all right. So, oh, that's not fair. Anyway, okay. Shilda says we're not talking about it now. We're not talking about it now. Maybe she could tell us how Mandela is at this juncture, because I think I heard him just now. Did I, Shilda?
Yeah, he was around here.
Right. Okay. What sort of bank account has he got? Prestige, no doubt. He's got. Okay. Brian.
Actually, I have to say something.
Go on.
I had the clients that he heard about Mandela.
Yep.
And he has a school training, dog training school, and now he's helping me a lot.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's really good news, isn't it? All right.
Yes.
So what I was going to ask you, what client you're looking for next who can bring professional skills that are needed, but you don't have to answer that publicly. But isn't that a great little fringe benefit for working with people from all around the world?
Yes.
You get a dog psychologist as well in there. Fantastic. Brian, is that everything for you with the bank account?
No, but Brian, I'm going to explain. It's easier when you go through a Prestige bank, a Prestige agency.
Okay.
Because if you go to a regular one, their response it's much longer.
Okay.
But I don't think that they will. I'm going to check tomorrow that they will ask you to keep that requirements.
Well, of the criteria to get the Prestige.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it sounds like that's a job for EI there, Brian. Anything else for you this evening?
Yes, there is more. There's always more.
Right. Go on.
On the rental side of things, I found a place that was absolutely perfect, but over my budget, and it's €900 a month, which I still felt I was able to meet with my money in the bank, but my budget is limited, and I'm looking at an expectation of 900 a month passive, with 50,000 in the bank. But I was advised that VSH will possibly turn that down because they won't feel that my funds are enough. If that's the case, what rental figure should I be looking at? based on those finance figures.
There you go. A very personal scenario there, Gilda. Can you comment on that?
I think that you should go for the house that you want, and then we'll figure out
That's a good way of
the
looking at it.
rest.
All right.
Good. I'm just worried that if I go for the €900 a month house that is perfect, that ends up with me being turned down for my visa.
I need to analyze that with Marianne tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay?
We need to move
I'll
on.
talk
We've
to
got a
her.
lot of other questions, but thank you for those two. Sounds like you might be a Prestige customer after all. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. It might bring all sorts of benefits. You know, you might get waved through to the front of the queue, not because you know you're looking old, but because you're a Prestige customer. Not you personally, but you know this is what can go on in the bank there. So you might get waved through as a VIP and served a mojito or something like that as a Millennium customer. Okay, fantastic. Let's go to Chiara, who had a wonderful list of places that you're looking at, Chiara. Barack also said he's been to visit Oliveira do Hospital and Coimbra and loved those two. They haven't come up yet on the list, but more going towards the interior as you suggested, Carolina. What do you make of this list? In the Azores, Pico Island, San Jorge Island, and Terceira, they're all like paradise, aren't they, over there?
They're all beautiful, but I would advise São Miguel because it has more services and transport.
Right.
But in Azores, that would be what I recommend. Regarding Tomar and Setúbal, they're also great options. But if Chiara is looking for more services and movement and everything, I would advise Setúbal. Setúbal is very beautiful. Mm-hmm. The historic center, it's near to Lisbon, but it's a quieter town, but it has all the services and transports. And so if it is what she's looking for, I would advise Setúbal.
Fantastic. Good news. Thank you very much for your encyclopedic knowledge tonight. Excited beyond belief, says Laurie. Started packing our things for Santa Marta de Portugal. So as soon as we get our visas, we send the stuff to our house in Portugal. Is it wrong to say we are waiting impatiently to go home? No, a lot of people feel that way, don't they, Gilda? They talk about before they even get here, it becomes home, doesn't it?
Yes, as soon as they choose a place to rent, even before they submit the visa, they keep asking if they can wait for the visa here.
Yes, yeah. Okay, and we can understand why that is, and I think from the sort of law of attraction and the magic of manifestation, it is a good idea to call Portugal home as soon as you possibly can and visualize it that way. Great question.
Are you reading about those things? Because I've been reading about manifestation and law of attraction a lot.
Well, I'm also psychic, so I knew that, Gilda. Okay, great question from Sean. What are the typical reasons for denial? I mean, this is just, that's not an Egypt dad joke, not that denial. Denial of visas, please. Typical reasons. I know it's, I mean, it's a big question, isn't it? But I think some indications would be great, Gilda.
Well, the most common are not sufficient, the lack of means, not sufficient demonstration of means, not sufficient savings.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
And,
it's 80% of the times it's about the money.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, understandably so, because you know, we're really trying to, or I say the royal we of Portugal, but Portugal is trying to establish that you can look after yourself, and those are the criteria by which most people fail. By the sound of it, should they fail, that is. So Sean is grateful for that. Thank you very much, Sean, for that question. Stephanie, please help. Gilda and Carolina hoping to hear back from the fabulous EI team soon to start the visa process, but not getting any responses to emails. So maybe we can make a particular note of Stephanie there.
What is the email?
Stephanie Baylis Crisp is somebody we're looking out for.
Stephanie?
Stephanie, maybe a PM, Stephanie, to Gilda. You can do that. You can talk to the dream team during the webinar, well, not the Dream Team session here. So you can send a DM or a PM to the people on the Dream Team to get your questions answered as well. My closing question tonight, we're not there yet because we've got a few other questions, but my closing question tonight will be about Portuguese poetry. Roman, I'm expecting something special from you with a bit of French philosophy thrown in perhaps as well. So just to give you a primer, Portuguese Dream Team panelists, I'm going to go literary tonight and ask you who us foreigners should study when it comes to Portuguese poetry. Let's go to where are we? El Quran, one happy immigrant a few months ago raved about how easy it was to bring his 8 suitcases full of belongings by air. Does anybody know what airline from the US allows this? And Alison's all over that. Thank you very much. Gilda, Carolina, are you hearing about which are the best airlines to fly into Portugal if you're bringing all your belongings with you and not using a shipping company? I think Gilda's making way.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, Carolina?
Sorry.
Sorry, no.
Okay, that's going to be a great question for the Expats Portugal Forum then, to actually track that person down, El Quran. Who were you, the person who brought 8 suitcases, and which airline did you use? And anyone else who's done that in the chat tonight might want to tell us. Stephanie, I think we're all over that as well for you to be contacted tomorrow. Do you have to have a funded Portuguese account for a D8? Monthly income is well above what I read was needed, but most is spent in the night coat of living in the US. I'm not sure what that means there, but I guess you understand the question there, Gilda. Do you have to have a funded Portuguese bank account for the D8? Cost of living, not the coat of living. Okay, fair enough.
I understood that. Okay, so Brian, you have too much anxiety. When you hire a company like us, it's to take the anxiety out of your shoulders.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
That is in response, for anybody who's not seeing the Zoom chat, that is in response to a specific comment. It wasn't Gilda just picking that out of the air. I'm
sorry, I assume everybody.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So did you get that, Brian? I think you're going to need to take Dr. Pereira's chill pill prescription tonight. Okay. Chiara, so the funded Portuguese account for the D8, Gilda, what do you have to say about that?
My advice is that you should open a Portuguese bank account. Why? Because despite it's not required by law, most of the consulates have been asking for it. So we want to be cautious. It's not, I didn't say it well, but I guess you understood.
Absolutely, yeah.
We want to make our process as in a conservative way to make sure that they are going to be approved. So yes, we've been submitting our D8s with the Portuguese bank accounts.
There you go. I hope that's helpful. Let's go to YouTube. I've heard stories of people waiting 6 to 12 months for their D7, says Joseph, for them to be approved. How do they manage that if they're waiting to move to Portugal and are paying to rent an apartment there? It's a great question, and it's a tricky catch-22, isn't it, Gilda?
Where is that? In India, perhaps.
Wouldn't that apply to anybody though? If you've got your 12-month lease and you're paying the rent, you don't know when your appointments are going to be, do you? So it's a little bit of a catch-22 situation for anyone coming here. And there's not much that can be done about it, frankly, is there?
But no, there isn't.
I mean, Joseph, if you want to give us some more specifics on where you are and your circumstances, that might help. But I don't think there is a great, I mean, that's just one of the sort of vagaries of moving to any country. I don't think that's specifically Portuguese, is it? It's like, having the overlap between the old country and the new country and the overheads that you have to take on between the two.
Yeah,
really.
that's it. There is a risk that you need to take.
Yeah. Chiara, do you need to have a substantial amount of dollars in the D8?
No,
yeah.
no.
Right.
Like 9,000 euros would be fine.
Okay, excellent stuff. All right, we are drawing to a close now. It's been in some ways quite a quiet session tonight. There's a full moon coming. Maybe
Yeah, it's a full moon.
Maybe it's
Everything
the-
is happening. SEF is changing.
yes.
Why are you so quiet?
It's the calm before the storm, perhaps. I don't know, but there's a big
Everyone
harvest.
should be moving.
Yes, exactly. You've got a few more minutes to get your questions in. So I'll go to my literary question tonight. Now, this will get everybody's attention. I have been studying Floribela Espanca, Portuguese poet. I knew that would get your
Oh my
attention.
God, this man.
Okay. Now I'm thinking my recommendation to people wanting to move to Portugal is that, as well as Fernando Pessoa and Luís de Camões, they might look at Floribela Espanca. Am I missing anything? Should there be other poets that you would recommend, or other writers of Portuguese literature that should be for the student of Portugal? Gilda, I'll go to you first.
Yes, there are many. There are many.
Right. Do you have any specific recommendations, or are you just too upset with my first one?
No, yours are fine. What did you say? Fernando Pessoa,
Yes. Camões?
Camões, but Camões it's heavy. It's like
Okay.
Shakespeare for foreigners. So it's heavy. It's a
Right.
heavy thing.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that you should stay with Pessoa,
Yes.
Floribela Espanca, it's
Yes.
okay.
Uh-huh.
And then my favorite is Eugênio de Andrade.
Okay, very good. I've not heard of that particular poet. Thank you.
So
You did
it's
pick
another
it up.
one for you to study.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. And Daniel, I think giggling a little bit at my recommendation. I didn't ask you how the president was. We often talk about the president. He's been getting himself in trouble in Canada. You may wish or not to address that. I'm certainly interested in your literary recommendations, Daniel.
Well, I think that you are on the spot with Fernando Pessoa. It's a good starting point and a really excellent cultural bridge to Portugal. And not a poet, but I do like his books quite a lot, is Saramago, our Nobel Prize in literature. So I would look into Saramago as well, because although it's not easy to read him in the beginning, but once you get used to his style, it's addictive. He writes books where he takes something out of the societal rules, and then he constructs the society around it. So he did that with Ensaio sobre a Cegueira. This is blindness. There's actually a movie about that. The movie is terrible, actually, but the book is great. He put everyone blind, so he then reconstructs the society around that. The other one that he did was he removed death. No one died. And this looks like an excellent thing, but then it creates quite a lot of problems. So it's someone that I do recommend reading is Saramago, no doubt about it. But
thank you very much. Can you put his name in our chat? That would be so helpful.
For sure. José Saramago.
Thank you so much for that recommendation. We've had news in that Sean is new here, listening and learning. And Connie is saying to you, Sean, becoming a premium member is totally worth the cost and will make available many perks, pays for itself, highly recommended. And Jerry would love to get an email tonight saying that another premium member has signed up. So if you want to take advantage of that and make Jerry a happy fella this evening, you will do that by joining up at expatsportugal.com. Thank you, Daniel, for that, José Saramago. Thank you both, Daniel and Gilda. Carolina, do you have a literary recommendation for us?
Yes,
I had one idea. Carolina loves books. Sorry, Carolina. Why don't we make a literature club?
A book club. Yes, the Expats Portugal book club. Perfect. Great idea. You remember where you've heard it first. I can't even speak, let alone read a book.
Go on, Carolina.
So I remembered one poet that is Natalia Correia. She was very important because it was a big figure in when we had the dictatorship, and she was a revolutionary and was very important for women and freedom. So if you want to read some poems that were at that time very futuristic and very move forward and appealing to freedom, especially for women, that's a good option. And another poet that I remembered was José Régio. That is also a good reference. Also has very good poems, and there's one specifically that is called Cantico Negro. And there is another person who is called, let me just check, just so I don't
Oh,
be...
bless you. Well, thank you very much, Carolina. If you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat as well, because people are interested in the book club. That's great news.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Let's
good.
make a book club.
All right. Will we be drinking gin and tonic while we're talking about the books? Of course we will.
Why? You made this? I don't drink all the time, only on the weekends.
Okay, fair enough. Camilla, there was a brilliant question that was snuck in as well, and your literary recommendation would be fantastic. But who pays for rental guarantor insurance, the owner or the renter?
The renter.
Okay.
And the beneficiary will be the owner.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for that. And what about poets, writers? Do you have any recommendations for our for people who want to be more Portuguese?
Me?
Yeah.
Recommendation to learn Portuguese?
No, for like your favorite poet or writer that.
Fernando Pessoa.
Pessoa for you as well.
Okay. Yeah.
And quite accessible, I think, for foreigners too, because you can get translations. And he's so widely written about, you'll probably find a book that suits you as well. So a great starting point. Thank you, Camilla, for being here tonight. Roman, do we have a little bit of a French tinge? Is there a hybrid of Portuguese and French literature you might be able to share with us?
Well, I'm the mortgage guy, so I am not into like very artistic things, and I don't read a lot of poems or anything. So actually, I'm quite bad in these type of things. So I won't be as interesting as my Portuguese colleagues, but I don't have any specific recommendations. I don't read a lot. I only read bank offers and, regulation. So I don't have anything super fun.
Brilliant.
Unfortunately, but that's why I'm here, right?
No, fair enough.
That's great. That's great.
You know what? I don't read a great deal either. I much prefer. I prefer an audio book. So not everybody is visual in that way, and some people prefer podcasts and audio books.
Oh, you disappointed me
Again. Okay.
Yeah. You keep doing that all the time. So.
It's a weekly thing, isn't it now? All right, it's the Carl disappointed Gilda moment, everybody. Okay, and those names are going in there that have all been talked about before. Roman, thank you for such an honest answer with that, and we love it that you read mortgage offers mainly. That's wonderful.
That's the main
that
thing,
is
right?
great.
That's your thing.
That is great.
I hope I haven't missed anybody. And what we're going to do now, with Daniel's permission and acceptance here, is a reading of his favorite Fernando Pessoa poem. It's only 2 hours long. So, no, it's only a few lines, in fact. So, Daniel, would you mind concluding our session tonight with a reading of your favorite?
All of it?
Well, or maybe just an extract, because maybe it is 2 hours long. I was only joking. Right. Right.
Well, I'll read the first four phrases out of it. So this is called Bar Salgado, and it's Salty Sea by Fernando Pessoa, and I'll read it in Portuguese, but you can find the translation anywhere in the internet. So,
wonderful.
Ó mar salgado, quanto do teu sal são lágrimas de Portugal. Por te cruzarmos, quantas mães choraram, quantos filhos em vão rezaram. And basically this is, oh salty sea, how much of your salt is tears from Portugal for the crossings of the sea that we did, how many mothers did cry, and how many kids did die and they prayed for. So that's basically a reference to our descobrimentos, where the Portuguese sailors went and found new places almost everywhere in the world. At least for European standards or European perspective, they found new places. Those places were there already. So yeah,
it was a great moment, Daniel.
That was beautiful.
Or high.
No, you saying the poem.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Very good.
I like reading this poem. It's great.
And Christina saying fantastic, Daniel. Christina from Winsurance as well. You feel free to unmute and give us your recommendation as well, Christina. I'm not sure how much you want to be in the call. I love a good read, says Brian, and I recommend a series called Dungeon Crawler, especially for Carl. Dungeon Crawler Carl, especially for Carl. I think everyone's having a go at me now. Just because Gilda doesn't mean everyone else can as well. Other reading matter from our delegates this evening. My Dorling Kindersley Eyewitness Guide for Portugal is waiting for me. Of course, travel guides, tourism guides. And one I would recommend is A Brief History of Portugal by Jeremy Black. It's just fact after fact after fact, and you can get it on Audible. So that's where I'm reading it, Shilda. Okay, thank you very much indeed. P.S. It's not a pervy book. Are you referring back to Floribella Espanca there, I think? And thank you, Dream Team. Always informative and entertaining. And that was really special, Daniel. Thank you very much indeed. Over to you, Jackie. I think a little bit of a mention of what's coming up next week on the webinar session.
Yeah. Hi. That was great, Daniel. Thank you so much. And Roman, you did. I loved your answer today. I fully support that. So next week, we are going to do kind of a deep dive on the difference in prices of living in Portugal compared to the US or the UK. We're going to look at things from restaurants to, monthly food bills to buying a car, utilities. We're kind of going to go across the whole gamut of how to live here. And I just know it's going to be very informative, and we're all going to be so glad we made the decision to come here.
Yes, well said, Jackie. Thank you so much for that. So thank you very much indeed to Roman. Great to meet you, much prazer. See you again soon at the próxima. Thank you to Christina and Camilla from Winsurance. Find all of these folks in the Expats Portugal business directory. Thank you very much, Daniel from Resin Pelicano. And choosing not to talk about the president tonight. And Gilda and Carolina from EI from A. Thank you all so much. Let's leave it there. And as Jerry would say, where will we see you? We'll see you in Portugal. Bye for now.